I'm going to go through my 1440 newsletters, and I thought I'd just share reactions and thoughts. I'm not going to show it. Okay, it's a thing about Ariane 6, Europe Space Agency launch. Final package didn't deploy. Does that mean they lost the entire rocket? I can always check it out and find out. I think I just inhaled a gnat. Lovely. This fan blowing more directly on me. Empty. Lovely. Anything here? Nope. Yuck. Anyway, Amazon's Kuiper satellite internet constellation. It's a lot of ad copy for more space junk. That's really a lovely example of how intellectual property law is destroying everything. I mean, everything in space should be open source. It shouldn't be Amazon's satellites. It should be Earth's satellites. And we all have a shared license. So if Amazon wants to add hardware to the pool, cool. But no, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be Musk's little thing, and then Bezos's little thing, and then Russia's little thing, and China's little thing. And it's just, what a mess. Drug pricing probe. The Federal Trade Commission has absolutely no power, which is why they're just looking at things, which is basically just a shakedown. They're being like, I want a settlement. I want a fee. Gimme. And they'll get it, and it won't help us at all. Spam. Sports ball. Sports ball things happened. Wow. And another entertainer, two more die in their 70s in 2024, which honestly is just suspect because they have money. What killed them? Aging? Not really. Look into it. Devil's Wears Prada sequel, Shrek 5, sequel. We're just done making new movies. All right, here we go. Compiled database of magnetic bacteria that reside in animals. Very cool. Yeah. Navigation. That's the only, technology and science are the only ways we're advancing. Which sucks because everything that gets developed new just gets turned into, it either gets turned into product, it gets shelved because it threatens product, or it's more bars in our prison. Billionaire empowerment. That's what it all is, sadly. Analysis of crystals suggests Earth's tectonic plates began moving as early as 4.2 billion years ago, more than 700 million years earlier than previous evidence suggested. So we might just, to me, that's like indirect evidence that we're older than we have been told. New fiber optic network transmits data speeds above 400 terabytes per second, passing the current record by nearly 33%. That is staggering. Stock markets wiggle a teeny tiny bit because the collapse of society is profitable if you're shorting it. And it's a big casino. You can bet on anything. OpenAI getting into healthcare, which would be cool, except, again, it's going to serve billionaires. It's not going to, the AI is not going to tell you, most of these pills are crap, you should probably not take them. It's going to say what its sponsors tell it to say, and its sponsors in this case are OpenAI. And since they're partnering up with healthcare, well, they're going to be like, yes, tell the AI to tell everybody to buy drugs. Okay. Political football crap. One of our ancient senators dies because it's it's hereditary at this point. Finally, a nice quote in this one. The scientific man does not aim at an immediate result. His duty is to lay the foundation for those who are to come and point the way. Nikola Tesla. Yeah, that's pretty poignant considering he died basically with nothing. And they didn't pick that quote from the goodness of their heart. They picked it because it's pacifying. Sit down. Let the billionaires take all your stuff. Get back to work. It's always the motive. I have a couple of these saved up, so I'm going to do another one. All right. This one's from July 11th. CNN strategic pivot. Everybody knows they're full of shit. Yeah, and their profit fell. See, people have to believe in CNN for the drug companies and defense companies to continue funding them. That's why profit's going away. It has nothing to do with our opinion, really. It's very indirect. Scientists have solved long-standing mystery about how new mothers retain bone strength during breastfeeding, according to new study. High nutritional demands of milk can deplete bones, essential calcium, minerals during lactation. Estrogen, which typically helps promote healthy bones, drops in the postpartum period. It was unclear how new mothers maintain near healthy bone density. The study found that a hormone produced exclusively during breastfeeding, known as CCN3, jumps in to take the place of estrogen, triggering bone formation. So we have a new bone-growing hormone. Any mouse, young or old, male or female, strengthened and promoted bone growth. That is crazy. That is crazy. Hope may one day. So we know what to do, and we can start trying it today, but it's going to be on a shelf for 20 years to make sure we can turn it into drugs and make sure we don't threaten any current drugs. See, this is why I stopped being a techno-optimist futurist type, because all the technology gets shelved. It's like the billionaires just spawn camp all the technology and snatch it up and make sure we don't ever get it. Sports ball, sequel, sports ball. Scientists edit genes of gut microbacteria in a living mouse in world first. Wow. Edit the genes of gut microbiome bacteria in a living mouse. That's pretty cool. So now we can edit our genes and the genes of stuff inside us. That's important considering by numbers, most of the stuff in us is not us. We are communities. Great. Intermediate black holes move closer to reality. 100 to 10,000 times the mass of the sun. Such objects have been difficult to detect, I'll bet. So that's just another thing that could kill us out of nowhere. It's like add that to the list of asteroid impact and gamma ray, pulses. Stock market wiggle, FTC poised to sue. Oh, capital company convicted of fraud, which just means he didn't pay the right people. Microsoft ends non-voting observer role at OpenAI board. Like that's gonna, please. They all have everybody's text. Everybody knows. Oh, I'm so tired of that. 1440 is totally run by Zionists. Israeli military orders Gaza City residents. They're already refugees. There aren't residents anywhere in the city or in the country at this point. To evacuate south. Yeah. The Onion had a wonderful title about that. It was like IDF orders refugees to new bombing site. Something like that, because that's what it is. Israeli airstrikes kill 50 people. 50 people. Yeah, it's probably 40 kids, you know, and wound 200 more children per Hamas-run health ministry. Oh, so it must be a lie, right? All that TikTok footage is totally faked, I'm sure, even though it comes from IDF soldiers primarily. I'm so tired of this. I'm so tired of this. I didn't even know that was possible. AOC introduces articles of impeachment against Supreme Court justices. Total fandom. Nothing will happen unless the banks that own our country decide to. So, you know, that's cute and everything, but I didn't even know that was in, like, I didn't know that was an option. Which is why they have a little link here. The history of justices and impeachment. Did you know that was a thing? Because we didn't. Here's a link. I love how Dems are being like, step down, Joe Biden, when they canceled the primary. To me, it's too late. Now, again, the government is not real, but from a purely fanboy logic or a fandom logic standpoint, like the lore and the logic from the lore, they canceled the primary. You don't get to have a new dude. You either drop out of the race. I mean, if they do that, it's going to be interesting if they do that. If they just swap leaders with no input from us and then elect them president, the first totally unelected president, that would be interesting. I kind of want that to happen because that will tell people. That will be an important lesson for people. It's like, yeah, it's all fake. It's all appointed. I mean, the vast majority of the government's appointed anyway, you know? That's part of my argument for why we don't have one. Whatever. Okay. Yeah, I think I have another one. I think I have two more, actually. Nope, just one. All right, here we go. Today's NATO summit ends. NATO summit ends. The 75th anniversary summit of NATO came to a close yesterday with the leaders of 32 countries bolstering support for Ukraine. So, you know, doing what they're told because they don't have militaries of their own. That's basically the value proposition. America is like, okay, I'll be your military, so you don't have to have one, so you can just spend all that money on other stuff. In exchange, you just support everything we do in our little club here. Now, since you have a military, you won't actually be doing anything, so it'll all be performative. And we can say that it's consensus and international community. What do you say? And basically everybody signed on the dotted line. Because, ultimately, that first point was the most important one. It was like, oh, so you're going to have all the real guns and power. Okay, I guess I will sign on the dotted line. Japan is really smart because they jumped into that with both feet. They're like, yeah, fine. We won't have an army at all. We'll just adapt to that new reality. And suddenly they're not in any of it. It's like they don't have this worst of both worlds middle management role. They're just like outside. Nobody ever sends Japanese troops anywhere because they don't have troops. They have a self-defense force. It's such genius. That is how it's done. I mean, not even Finland is that smart. Of course, Finland shares borders, but I feel like Finland could have done that, because, it's not like actual wars happen where they cross. We haven't, like land doesn't get annexed. We haven't had a real war where countries stopped being countries, except in Africa, I guess, and Balkans. I don't know. It seems different, though. Anyway. Yeah, United Nations biennial report on population. And their projections go out to 2084. Dude, they can't predict rain, yes or no, tomorrow. And they have a massive vested interest to lie. I'm not going to take any of that seriously. 10 billion. We will not see 10 billion people. At this rate, population is crashing. I don't care. It's obvious. Yeah, decline in fertility rates because something happened. Wow. First total larynx transplant. That's awesome. Regained his ability to speak, swallow, and breathe independently. Good man. Nice. 21-hour surgery. 21 hours. That's nuts. That's amazing. Nice. Jennifer Watson, Wexton, DVA10. Diagnosed last year, neurological disorder, ability to speak. AI generated voice using recordings from her voice before. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, Shelley Duvall dead. Danny Elfman sued for defamation related to sexual harassment allegations. You know what? I buy that. He is an odd duck. I mean, he's a genius beyond dispute. But wow, he's weird and he comes across as pretty mean and abrasive and just very, very strange. So, yeah, I can see that. First fossilized chromosome with its 3D structure still intact. Recovered from woolly mammoth skin. Nice. Now that's awesome. Hydrogen-powered air taxi. Carries out 523-mile test flight. That's the way it's done. The best way to store energy is in a fuel form. So you use electricity to generate a fuel and then use the fuel. You can do that with nuclear reactors, and hydrogen is the perfect choice because it's water and it turns back into water when we use it. It's like energy in, energy out. Heat is the only real byproduct. Yeah. Very cool. Engineers train robot to learn and mimic human gestures, including various dance moves, high-fiving, and more. Okay. Stocks, startup. Everybody's betting. The casino is open. Tesla shares, stock. Delta shares, stock. Casino, casino, casino. Death toll from historic heat wave rises to at least 28 people who were basically killed by rich people. You know, I'm sure those 28 people would have lived if they had access to air conditioning. U.S. military to dismantle floating pier off Gaza. Intended to assist in humanitarian aid. Bullshit. There's walls and gates and trucks. Oh my God, that is so much bullshit. I can't take that. Oh, that pier. That is the most... I hate this timeline. Oh my God, that is so stupid. Adoption paradox. Adoption is often celebrated as a happy ending for a child otherwise set to be regularly transferred between institutions. Still, the experience can lead to ambiguities around the adoptee's identity and a sense of self. The problem with adoption is that our criteria is mostly economic. Like, this goes back to my thing about the final underclass. I have a post about it. It's like the concept of child needs to be absorbed into adult and integrated like you would someone with a brain injury. I have a whole essay on that, and it's about like when someone has a traumatic brain injury and they lose all their memories and skills. Legally, they're still an adult, but they're in this state where it's understood that they're incredibly vulnerable and they need a bunch of help and a bunch of protection, which is what they sell us on the idea of like the legal entity of child, when I feel like it's kind of like the difference between a school and a library. You have this unnecessary oppressive baggage that needs to be sheared off. It's like, yes, obviously, children need protection and special considerations. That's obvious. No one is not saying that. No one serious. Okay. However, the idea that they're property, the idea that they can be traded around, the idea that they don't have rights, that stuff needs to go away. And I think the first step in fixing that is basically just to remove the class, because it basically means serf. Child basically means serf, and it's a legal entity that's all wrapped up in meaning serf. And we need to just get rid of that. And we need to make it so that, like, reduce the voting age to 0, first of all. And then instead of having age limits on stuff, we have criteria. Just like when someone's in a coma, before they can become a person and be able to legally give consent and stuff, they have to meet thresholds. But it's not a time threshold. If a 35-year-old sits up in a coma bed and doesn't know how to speak, he's going to be under care. He's going to have guardians and stuff. The important decisions are going to be made for him until he can demonstrate in a rational, objective way that he can make those decisions. And that's how it needs to be. Because the flip side of that is, or another example, I guess, is people with, severe mental disabilities. They can still vote, right? They can still technically buy a pack of cigarettes. And we need to make it so that all that stuff is consistent. And it just needs to be reworked from the ground up so that we just accept the realities of reality and process them in the most ethical manner possible. So there's that. Of course they were. Stegosaurus fossil goes to auction. Because we don't have governments anymore. We just have rich people and rubber stamps. Can visual AI models see? That is a consciousness qualia question, because it put it in air quotes. And the answer is probably not, but we should assume so anyway. There is no greater weapon than knowledge, and no greater source of knowledge than the written word. Malala Yousafzai. Yousafzai? It's a cool name. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess. Yeah. So we'll save that one too. I like saving the quotes. I got a bunch of them. That was that. I'm going to post that.